Hi everyone, my name is Deyaniracavazos and I am an LPC-associate from the state of Texas. I make videos all about what it's like working as a virtual mental health therapist for my own private practice and share tips for therapists in training. So you asked me if I could make a video about grad school and the application process, so everything from letters of rec, the personal statements, and any advice I had. So I got you, that's what we're doing today. But before I could even sit down and record this, I had to find my own personal statement that I used to apply to my grad school program, which meant I had to scour the dark depths of my garage to find my retired laptop that got me through my undergrad and my grad school application process. And honestly, it was like a 90% chance I wasn't going to find it, and let alone it turn on. But I found it, cleaned it up, and crossed my fingers it would turn on. I don't even know if this is gonna turn on. We'll see. It turned on. Okay, yay. We're seriously going to be going a trip down memory lane. So now that I knew it worked, came the next hurdle. Can I even find the document I'm looking for, or did past me erase it? Which honestly it's probable, because I had to burn everything to the ground after I graduated moment, just out of excitement that it was all over, you know what I mean? Pero ¿qué creen? Good news, I found it. Okay everyone, so let's go ahead and get started with today's video, because today we're going to be talking all about grad school application tips, so the letters of rec, personal statements, and I'm even going to be reacting to my own personal statement with you and sharing little snippets of it, really going through a checklist of what you need. So I will be referencing my own experience, and I'm also going to be using the Latinx Guide to Grad School as a reference. But because this is a video that has been requested, I am beyond excited to share this information with you all. So let's go ahead and get into this video. So before we even get into the steps, I first want to challenge you to really reflect on why you want to go to grad school. You do not just want to come out of, your grad school experience with debt if it wasn't something that you intentionally chose and you knew what you wanted to do afterward, which at the end of the day, I always think it's better to make an informed decision, having all of the information that you need and being able to make a decision based on that, and not going through the whole process or in the middle of the process just feeling frustrated like so many of us do, because there's so much that we didn't know going into this career field and this process, and it's not our fault. So my hope with this video is that you're going to leave feeling with more clarity, feeling prepared as far as what you want to do and why you're doing it, because it truly is a time commitment, an energy commitment. There is a lot that you sacrifice going through this process. So it's definitely important to also reflect, is there a different way that I can do what I want to do, or is grad school my only option to be able to do what I want to do and how I want to help and service the community I want to work with? And then when you've done that, it's time to research grad school options. So definitely look into 2 or 3 schools at least. Don't be like me where I only ended up applying to one. I looked at others but ended up just applying to one, and if I could go back and tell myself anything, is at least apply to another school just in case. I felt very confident that I was going to get into my grad school program because I went through the same program in school in undergrad, the clinical rehabilitation field. But still, if I could tell myself anything, it would have been to at least apply to one other school just in case as a backup. So this is a good time to reflect on, do I want to be in person? Do I want to do virtual? Do I want to do a mixture of both? Some schools offer each of those, considering your lifestyle and needs and what would be best for you. I've heard good and bad things of both regardless. So I think at the end of the day, you really have to consider the pros and cons and make the best decision you can, knowing your lifestyle and ultimately what you need. So some tips that I can give in this respect is to just create a nice document for yourself. Google Docs is free, and list out the universities that you'd like to apply to, get some information from each of those, and put on the document of why you want to go to the school, their grad school requirements, you know, so that way you know exactly when the deadlines are for each university and the semester, and you have it all organized there for yourself. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the actual contents of the grad school application, because there's different steps that go along with it. So I wanted to go ahead and share a checklist with you. And again, it's very important to go through each university though, because this could vary. So definitely don't just trust this checklist. I wanted to at least give you something so you can start mentally preparing for what's to come, but each university will still have some different requirements depending. So that is always going to be most important that you look into. So the first item on the checklist is considering the grad school application fee, and that can range anywhere between $50 to $150, so just depending on each university. You definitely do not want to be doing this all within the span of a couple weeks or even just a month. Take your time to really get these things ready, so that way you're not rushing through it, because some of these things do depend on other people. Definitely want to be considerate and give them enough time to get these things ready. Some universities also have fee waivers, so that's something to look into and to contact these universities about. If they do, that's one less, fee that you have to pay, and everything counts when you're going into grad school. Every little bit does help. So next up is taking the GRE. The Graduate Record Examination is what it stands for. And again, each university is different. My program didn't require me to take the GRE, and there are other programs that don't require this and others do, so that is an added fee. So very similar to your PSAT, SAT type situation, and the cost of this can be around $200. So next up on the checklist is your academic transcripts, and so these transcripts are going to be sent directly to the university by the schools you attended beforehand. So this process is something you especially also do not want to leave till the last minute, because you want to give enough time depending on how much availability each school and university might get. Some things could take a little bit longer than they're supposed to. And this also does come with an added fee, so this could range anywhere from $10 to $20. Now next up on the list is the statement of purpose or personal statement, depending how your university of choice calls it. And I ended up, like you saw earlier at the beginning of the intro of the video, I found my own personal statement so that I can react to it. And I'm also going to share tips with you and what you need to know about creating and constructing your own personal statement. Okay, so I have my phone here and I have my personal statement on here, and essentially what I'm looking at just off the bat is that I'm using Times New Roman font, double spaced. And so let me go ahead and just read you my opening statement. And this was something I remember spending a lot of time just thinking, like, I need to have something catchy, something that I'm proud of, a good opening hook. And so I wrote, to see families communicate and enjoy each other's company, to offer parents the resources that they need in order to cultivate a safe and loving environment for their children, to empower the youth to pursue healthy lives, to be a part of a rehabilitation process that extends hope when there is none. I think about this daily, and it fuels my passion to prepare myself as much as I can so that one day I can be a licensed professional counselor. I stand by that. I stand by that. Yep, that is our why. I remember thinking how fancy I was being, and I was so excited. I loved writing, and I still do, so I love that. I definitely wanted to start off with a good hook that just expressed how passionate I was about the career field. And so if I scroll down, it is 2 pages. That is how long my personal statement is. So let me read you another little excerpt from here. So it says, my case management professor spoke out a truth that resonated with what I set off to accomplish the minute I enrolled in the University of Texas Pan American. He said that I should ask questions, learn all that I can, because the point of it all is that the more I learn, the more tools I'll have in my tool belt the day I walk out of here and walk into the professional world. I entered the rehabilitation program only knowing one foundation. My purpose is to help people, and now I just have to learn all that I can to figure out the best way for me to do that. So that was my little link throughout what I ended up writing. I kept going back throughout my paper to what my professor said about adding tools into my tool belt, and I tried to also connect how the current university that I was applying to, which is the same university, now it's called UTRGV, the kind of tools that they could provide me to add to my tool belt so that I could be an LPC in the future and service the communities. I want to get my master's degree from the School of Rehabilitation and Counseling Services at UTRGV so that I can get both my CRC and my LPC so that after years of experience, I can go into private practice. Which is so interesting because dear past me, things are different. We didn't actually end up going that route at all. I ended up going the LPC track, but I didn't go the CRC. I remember at the time I was kind of debating it, and I added it because I was going through the School of Rehabilitation Counseling, so it was important. And so the other different thing is that I said after years of experience, which I could totally laugh at that now because I literally ended up opening my practice as soon as the rules changed, and a year after I was counseling as an LPC-associate because the rules had finally changed. And so I didn't wait, you know, as soon as I was able to, I did it, and no regrets whatsoever. I love getting to have my own practice and doing things the way that I'm doing them, but this is such a trip to read. It says, my bicultural and bilingual abilities prompt me to want to serve the people of the Rio Grande Valley because I've witnessed firsthand the danger of miscommunication when healthcare services are provided in different languages without the proper knowledge of the language and its culture. Yep, we're still there, and that actually became the main focus of my practice, which is so interesting to read because I not only service my local community, the RGV, but I service the entirety of the Latina community in Texas. So that is wild. But that is everything from my personal statement. There's way more to it because, like I said, it's 2 pages, but then this video would take forever, and I'm not going to share my whole personal statement because, you know. But I wanted to give you little glimpses of things, and now we're gonna go ahead and get into the actual outline, how you can break this down and what your personal statement needs to contain to get you accepted into grad school. And even if you do these things and you get a no, then at least at the end of the day, you know that it rested upon the university and not because you're not qualified or because you didn't do things appropriately, which if you're like me, that means a lot, you know, to at least know that, hey, I did everything I could. Now it's just gonna take me to try with someone else or to try again, because it definitely can be very competitive out there. So I'm so excited to share all these resources with you all. Okay, so according to the Latinx Guide to Graduate Schools and other information that you can now thankfully find online, the statement of purpose or a personal statement should be about a 3 to 4 page double-spaced essay, which I love that for me. Look at me breaking the rules and not knowing what the hell I was doing when I applied into grad school and giving a 2-page essay. I love that for me. And so the purpose is to explain your interest in the program, outline your preparation for grad school. And so basically you're trying to tell members of the admission committee, so like a couple of professors, why you want to be in grad school, who you are, what your scholarly interests are, your academic background, why you're a good match for their program. So essentially think of this as your academic resume of sorts in essay form. That's how I like to think about it. And you're trying to persuade them, right? Convince them as to why they should accept you into their program. And so that can feel very intimidating, but it's also important. And now I can say this, now that I'm outside of it and I'm providing these resources, try to know your worth also, right? When you're writing this, because as much as you need them, they also need you, right? In their program, for their program to function. So it's important to also know your worth, not hold back, you know, when you're writing this, because there's a huge difference between being a show-off who thinks they're better than everyone else and being confident, you know, and outlining why you would be a good match for their school and how they can help. So here are some reflection questions that can help you beforehand. So if you want to just sit down and journal for a little bit or write these things down, so that way when you go into this, it feels like you have a bit more clarity. You can ask yourself, why do I want this degree? What courses, faculty, or experiences inspired me to be on this path that I'm now taking? What courses, faculty, or program features interest me the most? Where do I want this degree to take me professionally? What do I want to do after this, and how will this program help me? So from what I have read and experienced, you can really break down the personal statement into a couple of categories, so that way you can have a nice little outline for yourself. So honestly, if you've done the reflection questions and you still feel stuck as to where to start, I would say you don't have to go in order. Just start writing a section that you feel is a bit easier for you, just to start getting that flow going of writing. Don't focus on perfection. This is just going to be your first draft, and you can always continue to edit, take away, add to it, so it's okay. Don't put too much pressure on the first things that you end up writing. So in the first section, if you want to create an outline for yourself, is the introduction. So this is where you share an interesting anecdote, or kind of like what I did at the beginning. I tried to put an interesting hook, something that would lay the foundation for the rest of the paper. So you want to follow that up with a clear statement of your general interests and your long-term goals. Now in the second portion in this outline, you want to begin to talk about your previous academic and research experiences, or how you have been preparing for this degree. And even if at this point you're writing this and you're asking yourself, but what if I don't have a ton of experience? It's okay. Just give yourself time with it. Write down what you have and really dissect what you have. What did you learn from those experiences? Are there certain skills that are transferable, that can be transferred into the program that you're going to use? Definitely don't downplay the skills that you've acquired, even if you weren't working at a huge mental health institution. Because truly at this time when I was going into grad school, other than the practicum experiences that I had from undergrad, I hadn't had any job experience in the mental health field. So it's definitely important to sit with and dissect the skills that you do have. Now in this next third portion, you can go ahead and begin talking about describing the specific topics you want to study and why. Is there a certain professor that has certain experience in this, or are there other counselors or therapists that have graduated from here that you admire? Now in the fourth portion, you're going to go ahead and try to talk about why this particular program is a good fit for your interests. So for example, particular professors with who you want to study, or special focus or initiative within the program. And then some universities will want you to address specific questions in the statement of purpose. So really pay attention to what they're asking you, because every single university application might be a little bit different. So you want to make sure if a certain application asks specific questions, that you answer them. And I would say that by the end of what you've written, always go back to those questions if they asked you some, to make sure that you answered them throughout your paper. And if you find it hard to do that, you could always print out the paper or have it digitally and just highlight the portions of your paper where you answer those questions. That way you can just check it off and know, yes, I did answer this question as thoroughly as possible. Now, after you finish this writing and you've created this draft, you can always send it to someone so they can go ahead and proofread and just give you their honest feedback. I personally didn't have anyone like that in my life, so I literally just sat in my living room and read it to my parents and my sister. So next up, some universities might ask you for a writing sample. So this can be a 15 to 20 page double-spaced sample of your best academic writing or works that you've done in the past. And next up is the letters of recommendation. So something that I wish I knew when I was an undergrad was that that is the perfect time and the much needed and crucial time for you to make connections and get to know other professors and network, if we want to add that title, but truly just be someone in the classroom who your professor remembers, right? Whether that be because you asked questions, you participated, you talked to them a little bit more. Because thankfully I had one or two professors that I did have a little bit more of a relationship with, but I didn't know going into grad school that that was going to be a huge deciding factor. I really needed to have those letters of recommendation, as we'll use. So if you currently find yourself in undergrad, do not sleep on that, because when you are applying into grad school, whether it be right after you graduate from undergrad or later on, years later, you're going to need to reach out to these professors. And this is also why you don't want to leave this to the last minute, because sometimes it can take professors time to send you those letters of recommendation first. So you definitely want to email them and contact them yourself before adding their name to any kind of list where they get a request. And so when I did this, I tried to also remind my professor of who I was when I had them in class, some of the things that I learned from them. So I knew it had been a year since they had seen me, and they work with so many students that I at least wanted to also help them, you know, help them remember, or at least add some information about myself, why I wanted to go into grad school. And so that's something that I definitely recommend if it's been a year or over a year since you've spoken with some of these professors. So in the Latinx Guide to Graduate School, one of the tips that they give on there is to submit your application at least 1 week before to give yourself time. But that is it for this video, everyone. I really wanted to just share that application process with you all. Honestly, I remember just feeling so scared and overwhelmed because I didn't have anyone that I could ask about this. No one in my family, no one that I knew that was in grad school at the time. I was the first in my family, the first in my friend group. And so Google at the time was my best friend, but I couldn't get all of this information just by searching. So it truly means so much for me to be able to make this video to share with you all. I hope that you found it helpful. And if you went through the grad school application process and you have any additional tips for anyone, please share your wisdom with the community down below. And I want to wish anyone who is going to embark on this journey, truly it is a journey, I want to wish you the best of luck. You are amazing, and the work that you want to do is amazing. I am truly rooting for you, and I'm so excited for you. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Share this video with anyone who you think might find it helpful. Like it if you liked it, subscribe if you're new to the channel. All of these things help support my channel so that I can keep creating videos for you all. Take care, everyone. I'll go ahead and see you in my next video. Bye.